Hello, and welcome back to Fandom Fridays, where we proceed to check out all the fanfics that are not pony related. Why? Well, because we all need time to remind ourselves that other fandoms are awesome, even if they don't have pastel-colored inklines. And do we have a treat for you today? You see, the other day while I was walking down the store, submitted for your approval, martial art fruit user, avid reader and book lover, and a noted shipper. What happens when a shipper who is in love with his OTP finds himself in love with another OP that, by all accounts, he should not be liking and should just find weird? This is what our young reader asks himself lately as he proceeds to discuss Kim Possible, one of his favorite shows growing up, and his favorite OTP from that show is Kim and Ron. However, as much as he ships Kim and Ron, he also finds himself shipping one other type of special ship, one that he absolutely goes gaga over. Yes, the Shigo ship. Somehow, he finds himself in love with it, though he can never explain why. Well, today, he will now present to you a story featuring this said ship to maybe explore why he actually enjoys it so much, as we delve deeper into the shipping zone. We would play the music, but we cannot deal with copyright strikes. After all, we are still trying to fix our other previous channel. Seriously, what the heck, YouTube? What the living heck? So join us as we proceed to look into the story of Maternal Instinct. And that is why my leg hurts every time it snows. What was I talking about? Sorry, I kind of got a little off track back there. Maternal Instinct by Blackbird. I hope you enjoy. Maternal Instinct by Blackbird. Chapter 1. Surprise! Dr. Draken muttered to himself as he sat hunched over his computer and typed away furiously. He was so caught up in his work that he failed to notice the slender form of his second-in-command, Shigo, standing right behind him. So he had addressed him a few times to get his attention, but it didn't seem to be working. She sighed and cupped her hands over her mouth. "Dr. D!" she screamed as loudly as she could. Said doctor jumped out of the chair, nearly 2 feet, and spun around quickly when he recovered to glare at her. "Shigo! What have I told you about interrupting me?" he screamed back. "You called for me, remember?" She countered, placing her hands on his hips. "Oh yeah, that's right. I need your help in my latest, greatest plan to get rid of Kim Possible." "Since when do you not need my help?" "So what? Ow!" she yelled when he poked her with a syringe. She watched as he drew out a small amount of blood, then pulled the needle back. "What was that about?" she asked, rubbing the now sore spot. "Oh no, you are not going to try and clone me, are you? Because I told you already, many times I might add, no clones!" No, this isn't a clone at all," he replied, tucking the syringe away. "This is entirely something different, and it will make it impossible for Kim Possible to stop us for quite some time." Shigo gagged at a horrible pun. "Ah, and how long have you been working on that one?" "Only a few days. Why?" She simply rolled her eyes, then turned to walk back out of the room. She was positive that whatever plan he had would fail like it always did, and he would continue the pattern all over again. Kim sighed as she laid on her bed. The last month seemed busier than usual. Aside from the usual school-related activities, Draken was also having Shigo steal various genetics equipment, retrovirus designs, and most disturbing of all, her own medical workers. When her physician, Dr. Anderson, had called her to tell her the news, she was both shocked and repulsed at the idea. Even now, thinking about Draken having that kind of personal information sent a disgusted shudder down her spine. More disturbing was the thought of what he might do with the information. The first thought was another army of Kim clones. But Wade dismissed that when he pointed out that Draken hadn't stolen any incubators to grow one in. Thankfully, that also ruled out Ron's idea of some kind of Kim monster. So what could it be? She wondered. Has to be way big with the way Shigo's been sneaking around. I just hope it's not another little Diablo's kind of plan. She sighed at the memory of Draken's latest scheme. It had also been quite well laid out, and might have succeeded had Ron not been so passionate about the changes to his beloved Bueno Nacho. His impromptu call had forced the Mad Doctor's hand, and from there, things quickly spiraled into the usual pattern. Afterwards, however, was anything but usual. She was devastated when she learned that Eric was a syndrome, but even more shocked when Ron admitted his feelings for her were little more than unfriendly during their capture. She then surprised herself admitting the same feelings for him. After they beat Draken, they returned to the prom and, with a little help from Rufus, held hands, danced, and eventually kissed. It had not been her first kiss, but it was certainly the most special. It signified a lifetime of friendship turned into something more, and I hoped that this new relationship would last forever. For the first month or so, it certainly seemed that way. However, Kim's reminiscing was cut off by the trademark beep of her communicator. Deet, deet, deet! She pursed herself up with a slight sigh, then grabbed the communication device. What's the sitch, Wade? She asked. God Dragon Psyche. The young genius replied. CT and Shigo are robbing a better purchase. The electronics store? Kim, please. It's much more than an electronics store. It's the premier place for everything computer-related. Though I do have to admit, their nerd patrol is overrated. Right. Kim rolled her eyes. So, any idea what Draken might want there? Doesn't exactly fit his recent pattern. Draken has a pattern? He asked rhetorically, then shrugged. In any case, I don't know. Maybe he just needs some new monitors or computer equipment. I'm sure he has no intention of paying retail, she replied, slipping right into her infamous mission mode. Call Rod and set up a ride. Looks like I might have to do some late-night shopping. Already on it. Kim nodded as the connection was shut down. She sprang to her feet and moved quickly toward her closet to get her missing gear. She mentally prepared herself as she changed clothes. Going into a fight with Shigo without being ready was a bad idea. The older woman was exceptionally skilled in martial arts, and her plasma powers made her an even bigger threat. Kim was honestly surprised she had survived as many of their fights as she did. Something about fighting Shigo helped bring out the best in her own fighting skills. Whether it was the will to survive, or simply not wanting to be outdone. She always gave it everything she had when they would meet. In many ways, Shigo was much more of her arch nemesis than Draken. Just don't tell Dr. D that! And yet, despite that fact, or maybe because of it, she couldn't help but have a small amount of respect for the woman. Maybe it was simply because of her fighting skills, or because she was the only one that could truly challenge her. But the respect was there. Come on, Possible. She tired herself mentally. This is no time to get sentimental. Shigo's been outrunning you for the past few weeks now. You need to get your head in the game. She's not going to get away this time, and you are going to get back what she took from you. Resolve in place, mission gear set, Kim walked down the stairs and out of her house. She was determined to make this the last time she would have to go after Shigo like this again. Let's see. Have it, don't want it, tacky, just plain horrible. Shigo muttered to herself as he browsed through the DVD section. She had known exactly why Dr. Dragon wanted to break into the store. Well, it is a Best Buy. It's a pretty cool place. But she figured as long as she was there, she might as well add some things to her movie collection. Unfortunately, despite the store's impressive collection, there was really nothing there that interested her. Tell me about it! What? She had already had most of the good ones, while others just looked like something that were downright offensive. Honestly, did the world really need another entry into the Canadian Cobbler series anyway? She picked up a copy of said movie and ignited her plasma powers, quickly turning the disc and case into a melted hunk of plastic. So, this is what you've been reduced to? Destroying movies? A familiar voice quipped. Dropping the still sizzling blob, Shigo turned to find her nemesis, Kim Possible, standing at the other end of the aisle. As always happens when she faced a teen hero, a smirk found its way onto her face. Just killing some time until you showed up, Kimmy. Besides, you should thank me. Selling that movie here is a bigger crime than anything I've ever did. She replied sarcastically. I think we'll let the courts decide that one. Kim replied, going off into a defensive position. Right, like you'll ever get me in court. The pale-skinned woman replied, as she rounded her fist of green plasma. Seem to remember putting you there a couple of times. just like jail, and I'll be happy to do so again. While keeping her eyes firmly on Shigo, seeing her inclined her head slightly to the right. Run? You! He replied, poking his head around the corner of the aisle. See if you can fight Draken while I handle Shigo, she ordered. Gotcha! He said before he disappeared. As Kim turned her full attention back to Shigo, she noticed the Villainous was already charging toward her. She jumped over to Plasma and charged Strike and spun in midair so she could plant both heels on the pale woman's back. Shigo grunted as she fell to the floor, but quickly recovered and swiped at the red head again and with her left hand. Kim leapt over to the attack, causing the green plasma-covered fist to break and melt several of the DVDs on the rack. Kim landed on top of the fixture, but before she could plan her next move, Shigo kicked it with all her might, causing it to topple over. Using all the skills her years of cheerleading provided, Kim deftly jumped from one fixture to another as they continued to topple in domino fashion. Unfortunately, by the time she reached the last one, Shigo was already there waiting for her. She winced into a crouch and held on to the top of the fixture, and her body tensed as she waited for just the right moment. As the plastic and metal construct fell closer to the down, and more importantly to the waiting Shigo, Kim steadied herself further, and then launched herself off the fixture at the last moment. Again, her tear skills, combined with the momentum, helped her avoid a blast of charged plasma, and she landed with a perfect handstand onto one of the displayed pier desks. She bounced that off and onto the floor, then kicked one of the rolling chairs towards the now charging pale-skinned woman. Unfortunately for her, Shigo used the rolling piece of furniture as a springboard to send herself flying toward her adversary. Kim dived under one of the other desks, then pulled out one of the small wooden keyboard panels and used it as a shield against the deadly glowing claws. Not surprisingly, the cheap wood shattered as Shigo hit it, but provided enough of a distraction for Kim to bring her foot up and strike the other one on its chin. Then she quickly pounded on her, grounding her by the wrists and holding her hands down in an attempt to keep them from being used. What's Dragon playing, Shigo? Where do you want my medical records? She demanded. How many times do I have to tell you, princess? Shigo remarked in her sarcastic tone. I never understand Dragon's plans. Hell, half the time I don't even listen to them. Then why do you keep going along with them? For the chance to fight you, of course. The answer caught Kim by surprise, and caused her to inadvertently relax her position. Shigo used this as an opportunity to slide her legs from underneath the redheads, and then kick her as hard as she could in the stomach. Kim went flying through the air a short distance, and landed hard on her back. She groaned as she held onto a table and pulled herself up. As she did, she noticed it displayed the latest in portable music devices. In particular, the new Encapsule Micro. I've been meaning to get one of these, she mused as she picked up the tiny piece of equipment. It was about half the size of a pen in length, quarter in width. How it was able to hold up 2,000 songs was beyond even her. Even with all the tech advice Wade gave her. While it certainly was a cool gadget, the price seemed a little out of her range. Unless, of course, she could convince her parents that she really, really needed it. She filed that thought away for later, and went back to the matter at hand. Namely, the erased green and black suited woman with glowing fists running toward her. Acting quickly, she pulled on the device he was admiring, easily snapping the cable that could have kept it in place, and threw it as hard as she could at her opponent. Her aim was perfect, and it smacked Shigo dead center in the forehead, snapping her head back slightly. Ow! She screamed after a slight pause, rubbing the now sore spot. Kim used the distraction as her chance to charge, and knocked Shigo to the ground once more, where the two began to grapple with one another, rolling around every so often as they struggled for dominance. As they continued to fight, they failed to notice a certain blue-skinned doctor watching them from the safety of a home theater system display. Thankfully for him, the store had been thoughtful enough to build a small nook in which to display their new product, which had provided him an ample hiding spot. He poked his head from the faux one wall to get a better look at the fight. By now, they were up on their feet again, with their hands still interlocked with the others, and continuing their back and forth. Come on, a little more, Dragon muttered as he gripped a small, simple pistol in his hand tighter. A maniacal smile crossed his face when Kim Possible was turned so her back was exposed to him. He brought the gun up to fire, but as he took aim, the two flipped so Shigo was the one facing him. He groaned and lowered the weapon, waiting for his next opportunity to strike. It was a longer wait than he would have liked, however, as he kept that pattern for several minutes. Finally, Kim was able to gain the upper hand and kicked Shigo away from her. Seeing the opportunity reappear, Draken took aim once more and was about to fire when... Dragon! Ron shouted as he tackled the mad scientist. The surprise attack caused the good doctor to fire his weapon. As he fell, he watched in horror as his perfect shot missed, the dart carrying the formula he concocted. The formula was supposed to bring down Kim Possible. Bounced aimlessly around the store. It ricocheted monitors, desks, towers, and just about everything else there was in sight. His host returned when he finally saw it fly towards her, but was only able to scratch against the exposed part of her lower arm. It did cut her a bit. Once in his mind counted for something, but even that victory was stripped from him when the dart finally found a hole in Shigo's arm. Oh, that is not good, he thought in dismay. For her part, Shigo let out a small yelp when she felt the dart hit her. A sleek kick from Kim sent her to the floor before she could figure out what had hit her. Proceeded to dislodge the dart. Now's my chance, Dragon mused. He tried to get up, but found Ron still holding onto his legs. Get off me! He shouted as he kicked the blind sidekick repeatedly. Once he freed himself, he stood up and pulled out a small control. With the press of a button, part of the store's roof exploded, and his hovercar came into view. Rope ladder already extended. Shigo, we're leaving! He announced abruptly as he jumped onto the ladder. But we didn't even do anything! She protested. I said we're going, so go! Whatever, she muttered as she turned back to Kid. See you around, princess. She tossed a rather expensive computer monitor at the teen hero, and used the distraction of her catching it to leap onto a nearby desk and jump for the rope ladder. Kim watched helplessly as the two made their escape, as Draken yet again shouted out how she wasn't all of that. Kim sighed, then placed the monitor back where it belonged, as Ron walked up to her. You okay, KP? He asked. I'm fine, she replied. But you're bleeding, he said, pointing to the small cut on her arm. No big, she waved it off. I'm more concerned with what those two wanted here. They didn't seem to do anything other than Shigo trying to take a few movies and basically annoy us. Maybe she wanted to add to her personal collection. I highly doubt it. And even if she did, it really wasn't worth all this. Yeah, Ron agreed, before he remembered something. Oh, I did get this off a Draken. She looked at the object he held in his hand. It looked like a small pistol, but was far too simple to be anything really effective. From what she could tell, there was no way a clip or real firing mechanism beyond the fire the trigger. The barrel also looked too small or too large for just a bullet, so he assumed it had to be something else. Instead, he remembered how she got her newly retired cut, and something had fallen out of Shigo when the Villainous fell. In almost no time, she found the spent dart on the floor, picked it up to examine it. What do you think it is? Fawn asked, looking at the object. No idea. I'll have to wait to analyze it, she said, as she tucked it into one of her pouches on the belt. Think Draken's up to another big scheme? I don't know. This seems pretty standard for him. Maybe he just decided to go back to his usual stuff. Seems to be happening a lot these days, Ron half muttered. Kim stared at him in shock. Though she's sure he didn't mean to come off as harsh sounding as it did, it still struck a nerve in him. He apparently picked up on the sudden change, and instantly regretted what he said. Oh, Kim, I'm sorry, I didn't, he started. Kim held up a hand to stop him. Don't worry about it. I guess there's still some awkwardness flying around us, huh? Yeah. They stood in uncomfortable silence, to become all too common when the subject of their short-lived relationship came up. It permeated for several long seconds before Kim finally spoke. You know, I'm conflicted. On the one hand, I want my Shigo. On the other hand, I have to watch my Ron and Kim shift suffer. Darn it! Don't you guys realize how troubling this is for a shipper? It's a conflict, I tell you! A conflict! My two OTPs are fighting each other! Oh, my heart weeps. Oh yeah, I bet they all feel for you. Every single shipper in the audience is feeling for you. As well they should! Hey, why don't we go to Bueno Nacho as post-piston victory? It'll be my treat, she offered. You sure that's a good idea? They're having it sell on Chimeritas, 2 for $1. Of course, I'll be going with my standard knuckle order, he explained. Knuckle! Rufus agreed, plucking his head out of Ron's pocket. It's okay. I have enough money to cover all that. I hope. Kim's fears were resolved when she found that she not only had enough money to cover formed churritos and chimichangas. Wait a minute. Ron. He's played by Will Friedle. Will Friedle had a role on Ultimate Spider-Man as Deadpool. The Deadpool movie came out today. Oh my gosh. That's why you picked this movie! Yeah, I kind of did. You miserable no good. You clever, smarmy. Thank you. And a Nako, but also a medium soda, as well as a small tray of nachos for herself. They sat at their usual booth, with Ron stuffing his face, as usual, while Rufus munched happily away on the chimarito his human pal spared. Kim decided to eat in a more human way, and merely snaked slightly on her nachos as he watched the red light from her communicator scan over the objects he had salvaged from Dragon's latest presumably failed scheme. So, Wade, what's the sense? She asked, turning her communicator towards her. From what I can tell, it's a normal CO2 gun, he replied before taking a sip of his soda. Probably used to shoot that dart. And before you ask, no, I don't know what was in it. There wasn't a big enough sample left for a proper analysis. Thanks anyway, Wade. Like you said, no big. She flashed him a smile before she turned the device off, resting her hand on her right hand. She flinched a bit as the action caused a still fresh cut to throb slightly. As he nonchalantly charged over to the other arm, Ron took the time out of his snackers to give her a worried look. Kim, you should really take care of that, he advised, pointing his index finger at the cut. Huh? She replied absently before looking at the wound. Oh, it's nothing, really. I've had worse. Yeah, I know. She quirked an eyebrow at the tone of his reply, like his response earlier tonight. It seemed to carry an uncharacteristic air of spite to it. So assumed it came from the lingering romantic feelings they both had, but she couldn't quite figure out why something like that would sound off. Using a technique she knew still calmed him down, she laid her hand on top of his. Ron, you sure everything's all right? She asked softly. Yeah, it is, he replied. Any anger he had subsided. Sorry about that. I just don't like it when you try to brush off your injuries. You could get seriously hurt doing that. I know, but it comes with our line of work, right? Hey, if it makes you feel any better, I'll take care of it when I get home, okay? Alright, good. Hey, could you please not give me that talk again? You kind of sounded like my mom there, and... Ugh. She stopped and shuddered. Ron chuckled a bit at the reaction. Guess that was a little over-parenting, huh? I'll do my best not to sound like either set of parental units ever again. But that still doesn't mean I can't be worried for you. Wouldn't have it any other way. They sat there for a moment to enjoy a silence that for once wasn't awkward. One that he hadn't been in for some time. And silence came with the unspoken bond between them, that they would always be there for each other, no matter what life threw at them. While the two teen heroes strengthened their bond, miles away a different scenario was playing out. Dragon and Shigo returned to his lair in defeat once again. This hardly came into a surprise to Shigo, as he figured his latest plan would fail, even before he was started. Not that she really knew what his plan was. He refused to share it with her, and as far as she was concerned, it was merely random destruction. Not that she minded it one bit. It helped her work out some frustration, and she got to go toe-to-toe with Kimmy again. And that was always fun. What had surprised her, however, was Dr. Dragon's request that she take the rest of the night off. Hardly wanted to turn down free time. She still found it odd he didn't want her there, while he did his usual post-failure ranting. Still, if he wanted her to take the night off, she didn't mind. She was feeling unusually tired. More surprises waited for her the next day, when she found out Dragon had put her on light duty. This essentially meant she was stuck at the base with very little to do. Again, she didn't mind it for a short term. But when it quickly turned to days, and then weeks, a great deal of frustration began to set in. It didn't help matters when almost every day he would ask her how she was feeling, then retreat to his personal lab when she told him he was fine. Nearly a month had gone by since the better purchase fiasco, and Shigo was ready to tear down the walls from all the inactivity. It was to the point he was actually hoping Dr. D would come up with some ridiculously overcomplicated plan, just so she could go out and do something! At the moment, she was simply just prowling the halls to see if any of the henchmen wanted to train with her. But they were at least smart enough to know not to mess with her when she was in this sort of mood. Despite his claims of being a genius, Dragon was not so smart, however. So, Shigo, how are you feeling today? He asked immediately. Why do you keep asking me that? She screamed as she shoved her face into his. I just want to know about the well-being of my people, is all! He said rather unconvincingly. He tapped his fingers together, darting his eyes from side to side as he continued to glare daggers through him. He knew his lie was quickly falling apart, without someone there to direct the question towards. Luck finally seemed to smile upon him, as the henchman entered the corridor. You there! He shouted, pointing to the unsuspecting man. Henchman! What's your name again? Percy, sir! Said henchman replied. Yes, Percy, of course. So Percy, how are you feeling? Fine. Wondering when I'm going to get paid? Your check's in the mail. That's what you all say, Percy muttered as he moved on. I had better luck working with the Joker. Dragon wanted to give him a dirty look, but he knew that might blow his cover. Instead, he tried to look innocent, and of course failed miserably. Shigo continued to glare at him for several long seconds before she finally let out a huff and walked away from him. He waited until she was gone to give out a heavy sigh of relief and collapsed on the floor. If I'm right about this, I may want to look into renewing my health insurance, he thought grimly. Failing to preserve his health as best as he could, Draken stayed out Shigo's way for the next few days, and things continued on in this new pattern. That was until Shigo found herself awoken by a powerful nausea that sent her scrambling into her private bathroom, bent over the toilet for a good 45 minutes. When she was positive she had finished, she brushed her teeth for another 10 minutes to get the horrible taste out of her mouth, then went in search of her prey. Any henchman unfortunate enough to find his way into her path became quickly associated with the hall or floor as she stalked her way to Dragon's private lab. She flung open the large double doors with such force they smashed into the walls and created small cracks, to say nothing to giving the good doctor quite the scare. He had tucked her 5 feet into the air, then spun around to face her. His usual blue skin turned almost pale white. Dragon! She screamed upon seeing him. She moved with inhuman speed and was on top of him before he could even mutter a word. She held him by the collar of his shirt, claw tips easily slicing through the fabric and slightly through the skin, while the other hand was drawn and charged with plasma, ready to deliver a killing blow so he could give a wrong answer. What did you do? She growled, adding more malice to each word. What makes you think I did anything? He replied, still trying to play innocent. This only resulted in her yanking and cutting him even harder. He flinched at both the pain and her vicious expression. All right, he said quickly. Do you happen to remember that incident in Bear Purchase a month and a half ago? She nodded. Well, that little pinch you felt was the dark that was to be part of my master plan to get rid of Kim Possible. And? She said to gritted teeth. And the buffoon had tackled me, and I lost my balance and accidentally hit you. Figure that part out. What did it do? It held within it a small retrovirus I devised with the help of that sample of your DNA. My DNA? He began to sing uncontrollably now. Well, yes. You see, I planned to give the retrovirus and your DNA injected into her body, and that would in turn impregnate her. What? Shigo screamed again, fire in her eyes on her hand glowing brightly. Well, obviously that didn't work, did it? I naturally assumed that since the initial sample came from you, it would simply break down into your body, and that would be the end of it. But then I remember it also caught Kim on the arm and cut her, so I assumed that her DNA mixed with the virus and your DNA and, well, congratulations! Shigo stood there frozen. A violent tick developed her under her left eye as she struggled with the information she had just been given. She really couldn't tell what was worse. The fact that Dragon had violated her trust, hell, violated her, and used her DNA to violate another woman whom she begrudgingly respected. Or the fact that the plan had backfired, and now she was the one who was pregnant. Pregnant with the baby of her worst enemy. It just happened to be another woman. You know, I've seen so many mpregs that seeing a female being pregnant by another woman is actually a nice refresher for me. There were so many other things wrong with that idea that she didn't know where to begin. Nor could she think of any long-term solution to that problem. But there was a short-term solution, one that would bring her instant gratification. It was the only thought she could form right now. And it was quite simply, make Dragon hurt. The ensuing scream could be heard throughout the entire complex, if not the entire state. While most of the henchmen merely winced in sympathy for what may be happening to their employer, one particular henchman really sighed and turned back to his computer. Well, better start working on my resume, Percy muttered. Shigo stared at the doors of the clank blankly. She thought that once he got rid of those pesky little protesters, the decision would be easy. But it wasn't. Thank you, Shigo. Thank you, Shigo. She had no idea why. She knew it was stupid to be afraid, because it really was just one little operation. Then it was over. It'd be easier to do this than deal with the other option. So why couldn't she go in there? Darn it, Shigo! Stop being so stupid! She stuttered herself. There's really nothing to it at all. You've just been watching too many mad-for-TV movies. You don't really want to go through the whole motherhood thing, right? Childbirthing, breastfeeding, changing diapers, waking up at all hours of the night. Ugh! Not for me. So all you have to do is walk in there and get this over with. She nodded firmly in resolve. This was really it. She was going to walk in there and do this thing. Yep, here we go. Walking in right now. She cheered herself on. But she still stood. Damn it! She cursed under her breath. When did I get to be so soft? The question went unanswered, as one of the workers in the clank poked her head out to the door and offered her a new one. Miss, you've been standing out here for 5 minutes. Can we help you? No, she replied solemnly. There's only one person who can help me now. With that, she walked off, leaving completely confused. Although she had no way of dealing, the feeling was completely visual for Shigo. I don't know why she was doing this, what was going to happen. Deep down, she knew she had to tell her. Kim tried to stifle a yawn as she walked up to her locker. She wasn't sure what was more tiring, foiling the latest plan of one for crazy foes, or getting through an entire lecture in history class. She had heard the expression of not learning from history, and did find the subject genuinely fascinating at times. But the way they taught it in high school, it could almost count as torture. Of course, it didn't help matters, as she was just arriving from foiling one of St. Villain's plans. This time it had been DNA Amy with her latest genetic combinations of a gorilla-potamus. She soon found it out that combining the throwing strength of a gorilla with the intestinal tract of a hippopotamus led to a rather messy confrontation. Luckily for her, its name was terrible. Not so lucky for DNA Amy. She opened up her locker. Way's face appeared on the monitor of a small computer housed inside. She always wondered how he just happened to have the perfect timing. But shrugged it off as computer genius thing. What's up, Wade? She asked. Someone left a message for you on the site, he explained. No surprise there. What's it say? Just to meet her in the abandoned warehouse at Pier 13 at 7 tonight. Cryptic, claimed Kit. Did he leave a name? Nope. Just signed Miss S. Great, she sighed. I guess I should check it out. It could be a trap. Probably. But if someone does need my help, who am I to turn them down? Wade smirked. You wouldn't be Kim Possible, that's for sure. Exactly. Can you print me out a map to this place? Yep. Do you need me to set up a ride? No, I think I can handle this one on my own. Gotta take advantage of that driver's license sometime. Guess so. Just as long as you don't forget about me, he joked. Wait, I'd be lost without you. Young Hacker smiled at her before he printed off the map. He took it with her usual please and thank you, and then went about finding Ron to explain the sits to him. The rest of the day passed rather uneventfully, and all too soon the 7 deadline rolled around. A surprising sense of dread came over Kim as he pulled the family car up to the warehouse. Usually, she viewed going into a mission slightly tense as a good thing, and as she still knew the danger she constantly faced, and therefore would be on her guard. But something about tonight in particular felt off. She couldn't place her finger on what. She pushed the thought to the side for now and slipped out of the car, Ron following close behind her. They approached the warehouse carefully, on alert for any signs of a trap or ambush. Much to surprise, one of the main doors had been left wide open. That's convenient. A little too convenient, Kim said. They continued with their cautious approach, and slowly stepped into the dimly lit warehouse. Kim slipped on her night vision sunglasses, waited created for her, and did a scan of the immediate area, and found nothing. She wasn't too surprised, as she doubted anyone would make an ambush that obvious. Well, except for Draken, of course. But this didn't really seem like his style. So then, who could it be? She wondered. Hello? Is anyone there? Hello? Ron called out, snipping Kim back to reality. Ron! She chided as he pulled his sunglasses off her face. What? I wanted to get this over with. I'm hungry. Well then, I won't keep you waiting too long. A new and familiar voice added. Kim spun around so quickly, she almost did a complete 360 turn. She watched apprehensively as the pale-skinned, green-black jumpsuited figure stepped out of the shadows into what looked like the little broken windows of her pride. Shigo! Cried out, ready to jump into action at a moment's notice. Ah! The villainous shot back, holding up a hand. I did call you here to fight you. So that you are Miss Ass. I thought you figured it out pretty quickly. Shigo mused and looked at Ron. You not so sure about. Oh, I got it. I totally got it. He tried to cover. Shigo simply rolled her eyes. It was as bad as lying as Draken was. So if you didn't call me here to fight, then why? Finally giving yourself up? Kim asked. She snorted. You wish. She then sighed and dropped her soldier slightly. No, I'm afraid I'm having some pretty big news. Dragon's given up? Fawn asked hopefully. No, but now that you mention it, you won't have to worry about him for a long time. Kim gave her a questioning stare. You'll figure that out once I told you the big news, Shigo went on. Which is? About a month and a half ago, we had a fight in that electronics store. You got a cut on your arm. The teen hero nodded as he absentmindedly rubbed the since-then-healed cut. Turns out that cut was from a dart Dr. D fired. But missed cause the psychic here, she jerked a thumb towards Ron, tackled him and caused him to miss. Who's the man? The blonde asked. Ron, Kim chided again. Exactly. Anyway, Shigo spoke up, trying to steer the conversation back on track. As it so happens, that dart had some of my DNA mixed in, with a retrovirus that was supposed to make you pregnant. What? The redhead called out incredulously. Oh, it gets better. It hit me, because that cut added your blood to the mixture. Well, she paused and patted her stomach. You're gonna be a daddy. Kim's mouth hung open in awe. Of all the things he had prepared herself for in this encounter, this was certainly not one of them. Nor was it something she figured she could ever hear. She thought it was maybe one day, long into the future, she could have kids, but never did she dream she would be the father. It was Shigo? Wait, this is Shigo we're talking about here, she reminded herself. This has to be some kind of trick. Yeah, she said out loud, drawing on laws for the trick. This has to be some kind of trick. It's pretty low, though, even for you, Shigo. Please. You think I would make up a story like this? She demanded. Yes! Both Kim and Ron said flatly. Well, making you squirm is always fun. What would I have to gain from humiliating yourself? Kim thought about it. I guess that's true, but still, I can't be the father. That's just sick and wrong, Ron offered. That is impossible. And here I thought anything was possible for impossible, Shigo retorted. She's got you there, KP. Kim sent a glare to her supposed best friend. Whose side are you on anyway? Your side, of course! I'm just saying she has a point. Be that as may, she said. She looked at Shigo again. I still don't believe any of this. Well, I'm sure that little doohickey of yours has a way to scam people. Why don't you just call your geek and have him do one? The older woman suggested. Kim glared at her rival for a moment, still unsure what she was trying to accomplish with all this madness. Despite herself, she reached into her pocket and pulled out her communicator, quickly turning it on and calling up her friend. Wade? She said with a hint of urgency. Yeah, Kim? He asked, taken aback by the tone. I need you to scan someone for me and see if you can pick up any other life signs. Okay. She pointed the device towards Shigo, who stood out with her arms in return. A green beam shot out from the sensor on the top and traveled up down her body. When it was finished, Kim stared intently at the screen and watched as Wade's fingers flew effortlessly over the keyboard. In a matter of seconds, he had the answer, but it still left him looking confused. It's faint, but I'm definitely picking up another life sign, he informed her. He looked at the scan again. Kim, is that Shigo with you? Yeah, I'll get you back with the whole story, she replied, and turned off the communicator before he had a chance to say more. She glared at the pale woman again. Okay, so you are pregnant. Doesn't mean that story of yours is true, though. It could just mean to... Ah! Shigo cried, cutting her off. I told you I wasn't going to fight you. So if you want to keep that way, don't you finish that sentence. And even if it was someone else's, why would I come to you? I don't know. Exactly. She sighed again, but her body language softened even more. Look, I know you have no right to believe me, and I don't blame you. I've lied in the past, a lot. Probably lie again in the future. But for right now, I want you to look at me in the eyes. She paused to make sure Kim did as he asked. Good. Now put everything that's gone on between us in the past. Trust me when I tell you, I'm having your baby. For once, Kim found herself at a complete loss. She had stared Shigo in the eyes when she said that there was many emotions on display in those two emerald orbs. Confusion, panic, uncertainty, and even a bit of fear. But the one thing that shouldn't be there wasn't. Deception. There was absolutely no falsity behind those words. Shigo was actually telling the truth. She was going to have Kim's baby. Kim was going to be pregnant. Which was perfectly fine, because the girl who could do anything. And at that moment, there was only one thing she could think of doing. Faint. End of chapter 1. Review time. You know, I've decided to do a little bit of this, mainly because I wanted to try to answer myself one question. Why is it that I, as a Kim and Ron shipper, love the Kiko ships that much? Well, I don't think just reading one chapter of this story is going to help me answer that question. So maybe I might do some more layer to help fully answer that. Or maybe next week I'll check out the other fic that has the similar has a similar premise. But for right now, I just want to talk about this chapter. And how much fun it was. One of the things that I love about this story is that the two members of the relationship, Kim and Ron, weren't exactly hating each other, and it didn't seem like they both disliked one another. They were still friends, and their bond, which is one of the main reasons why we love them, was still strong. It still kept them connected to one another, and it still made them friends. It didn't seem like there was any animosity between them, and there was a little awkwardness, but that's life for you. It would be crazy not to think that there was any awkwardness. The two of them found themselves at an impasse, and they worked through it. We see that there's still a deep bond of friendship there, and I love that part. I also love Shigo's reaction to finding out what Draken did to her, and proceeded to hand Draken what he well deserved. I also like how this plan sets itself up nice, and it gives us an interesting setup, and then leads us into another interesting conclusion to see what happens next. Overall, this has been quite an interesting story, and personally, I would love to see what happens next. Well, that was one down. Thousands more to go. I'll see you next time.